Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video here to discuss. Looking at some signings from our past couple of days, some injury updates. We got a couple of pieces of news to discuss, plus some trade rumors involving the Hurricanes, the Jackets, the Maple Leafs, the San Jose Sharks, and the Calgary Flames. And it's all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey Channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank all your support and able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. And don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so someone else discuss today's video. Now, I'll usually start off with a game review video in these sorts of videos, but I'm recording this video just before game time of the Panthers Oilers Game 3, and it probably won't be hitting YouTube until Friday morning. So given that fact, I'm not going to be discussing any game reviews. I'll continue to do that on Saturday. But today we do have a couple of interesting things to discuss. Tons of rumors in the rumor mill right now. So we'll start with a couple of signings. Only one from over the past few days, so we'll get to it here. And that is that the Senators just signed RFA forward Angus Crookshank, who's a left winger, to a one-year contract extension with AV at $675,000 that'll begin to start next year. Crookshank has been playing the past couple of years over in the pro level, but mostly the AHL level. Not this past year, but the year prior, he put up 26 goals and 47 points in 71 AHL games. This year was nearly a point per game, had 24 goals and 46 points in 50 AHL games, and also had 2 goals and 3 points in 13 NHL games. Got into his first few NHL games with the Ottawa Senators, so he looks like a really good player, could easily be a decent call-up option. Probably could be like a solid 14th, 15th forward for the Senators. Probably starts at the AHL level, but definitely is one of their first call-up options if they run into some injuries. So I think that's a pretty good sign there for the Ottawa Senators, and it should help them increase some depth. So it's a pretty good move there for Ottawa to bring in Crookshanks. Looking at some injury updates just before game time, not sure if these two guys will play. Barkov seems a little bit more likely at this point, but Barkov has a jaw injury and he's going to be out for no period of time. Kane has undisclosed injury, he's going to be out for a day-to-day period of time. So I'm not sure if either of these guys are going to be able to go. It seemed like Barkov was probably going to be ready to go for game 3. We'll have to wait and see. It sounds like Kane could go, but he did miss practice on Wednesday, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there. But that's going to be interesting for the Oilers to see if Kane is able to play. Also if Nurse, because Nurse also missed practice too. So we'll have to see if Kane is ready to play, we'll have to see if Nurse is ready to play, and we'll have to see if Barkov is ready to play. So some interesting stuff there, but interesting injury updates from the past couple of days. Going over to a couple of pieces of news. First, something I never got around to mentioning in my last news video. Now, I'm not sure if it's been official, but there's been a lot of reports saying that he's had the interim tag removed. So when the Carolina Hurricanes put out a search, we're looking for the new GM, and they said to a lot of their external options that they're going to be hiring internal, which a lot of people have assumed that Tulsky's going to have this interim tag removed and become the new GM, which is what a lot of people thought they should do. Tulsky's a really good assistant GM over the past couple of years working with Don Waddell. A lot of people do think that Tulsky had some say in what happened with Carolina's roster, and it just made a ton of sense to keep him on as the GM. So it's a pretty good hire there for the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not sure, like I said, if it's been officially announced or if we have terms on the contract or the money value. I'm not exactly sure if we had any of that right now, but we do know that Tulsky will be the new GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. So pretty fantastic news there for the Hurricanes, and I think that's a pretty good signing. I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be one of the busiest teams in the NHL this year in the offseason. They have Necas to deal with. They have to rework their blue line with Pesci, Shea, Hatfield, and D'Angelo, all UFAs. They have to try and rework their forward group with guys like Teravainen, Nosen, Martino possibly leaving. They have to figure out what to do with Kotkaniemi. They have to try and refill those holes in the roster. They're going to be made by those guys leaving, so we're going to have some interesting things to work out with there. But Tulsky will be the guy who tries to figure it all out, as he's the new GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. So very good stuff there. We got some interesting news from the San Jose Sharks, and that's because they signed the new head coach. The San Jose Sharks have signed Ryan Warsofsky as their new head coach. Now, Warsofsky has been in the San Jose Sharks organization for the past year and a bit, almost 2 years. August 12th, 2022, he was hired as an assistant, and that's lasted until now when he's been hired as a new head coach of the San Jose Sharks. Pretty good hire there. He is one of the younger head coaches, only 36 years old right now, so that's fantastic news for them. So that's pretty good. I'm not sure if he has previous coaching experience at the AHL level or the junior leagues, but he does have no NHL head coaching experience, so this is going to be his first gig, so that's really good stuff there for the Sharks. We know they fired David Quinn, really want a new voice with Macklin Celebrini most likely coming in the next year or two, depending on what he decides to do with college this year, and they wanted a head coach that could help Celebrini and San Jose Sharks take a next step in the next couple of years to try and make it closer to the play. playoffs. And obviously they seem that Warsofsky is the guy to lead them to that. So pretty good hire there. Like I said, new type of coach, hasn't coached at the NHL level yet, only been with the Sharks organization for a handful of years. So pretty good stuff there for the Sharks. And I think that Warsofsky could be a really good fit there in San Jose. So pretty good sign there for San Jose as they got their new head coach. And then we also saw on Thursday morning, before we started recording this video, an announcement regarding the St. Louis Blues GM position. And that is that former player Alex Steen will eventually be the new GM of the St. Louis Blues. Now, according to a lot of reports, he signed a 5-year deal right now to be, I think it was an assistant or an associate GM or something like that, was a special title for the St. Louis Blues for the next couple of years. And then in 2026, he will take over the head as the new GM of the St. Louis Blues. So that's pretty good news there. Steen, I think, has been out of the league for 3 to 4 years now, I want to say, and it seems like he has a mind for hockey. He knows what it takes to win. I think he was a part of the 2019 Blues team that won the Cup. I might be wrong on that, but still, he was a really good St. Louis Blue player, and now it seems like he will be the new GM of the St. Louis Blues in a couple of years' time. So really good stuff there for the Blues, and I think Steen will be eventually, when he is able to get there, a fantastic GM for the Blues. So fantastic stuff there. And then lastly, going over to a couple of trade rumors. Now, there's been a lot of trade rumors over the past couple of days, so we're going to start today off with the San Jose Sharks. Now, according to a couple of recent reports from David Pagnotta, the Sharks are still open to moving defenseman Mario Ferraro. Now, we talked about this quite a bit towards the end of last offseason, plus into the actual season. I think he was one of the names that kept coming up at the trade deadline. The Sharks are open to moving Mario Ferraro. They're not opposed to moving him, but the price still remains high. We talked about how it was going to be a pretty high price tag. Ferraro has 2 more years left on his contract, I think it is, at $3.25 million cap it before he becomes UFA. Probably won't re-sign with the San Jose Sharks, and I think he would probably want a fresh start where he can go somewhere more competitive. So I think that he'd be open to a move. I think the Sharks will be open to a move. But once again, the Sharks really want a really good asking price. It sounds like they want a first-round pick by the looks of things, a really good prospect, and probably something else as well. So it would take a really good asking price, but there are teams who need some more defensive help. I know Ferraro's more of a left-shot defenseman, but there's still some teams who need some defensive help who could really use a guy like Mario Ferraro. So I would not be overly surprised if the Sharks did wind up moving him. Teams that David Pagnotta mentions are linked to Mario Ferraro right now as having some interest are the Toronto Maple Leafs. We know they're trying to rework their blue line. Ferraro's not too much on the cap hit, so if they can find a way to work out a trade, I think that would be love to have him. Nashville. Now, Nashville's a little bit more weird, but still, given the fact they just traded Ryan McDonough, who's a top 4 left shot defenseman, it might give them a little bit more room for them to go after like Mario Ferraro. We know they're trying to redo their blue line a little bit, so that might make some sense. Calgary, I know the Flames, besides Uyghur and Anderson, don't have a whole bunch of really good top 4 defensemen, at least at this point in time, so adding in the top 4 defenseman like Ferraro could be a really good piece for the Flames if they're going to continue to retool. The Hurricanes, like we said, they could lose Shea, they could lose Pesci, they need some more top 4 help. They could be a really good fit there for Ferraro. And the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are just trying to add some more pieces to make this team a little more competitive a little bit sooner. And I think Ferraro could do that. To add him to a top 4 that already has guys like Korchinski and Murphy and Jones, and that would be really good. So, in my opinion, those could be some really good landing spots. There's probably a couple of other teams out there who really need some defensive help, who will probably have some interest, but those are teams that David Pagnotta links to him. But it definitely seems like San Jose Sharks will move Ferraro potentially this offseason, and it wouldn't be overly surprised if it happens, but it does look like he will have to have a big ask in order to get him, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's the updates on Ferraro. Now, speaking of the Calgary Flames, we'll go over to them next. We've heard a couple of recent reports, both from David Pagnotta of thefourthperiod.com and the Insider Trading video on Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it was, that we got some more updates on the Calgary Flames. First, when it comes to Jacob Markstrom on the Insider Trading video, Chris Johnson was talking about this and said that it does sound like Markstrom is still fed up with the fact that his name was in rumor mill all throughout the deadline and he never got dealt. It doesn't sound like he's too happy in Calgary now and would definitely welcome a fresh start. Not sure if the Flames will definitely trade him, but I think there's a very likely chance at this point in time with him and the relationship between the Flames. I think there's a very likely chance he's gone. So with that in mind, I think there's a very likely chance he gets moved. Chris Johnson did say that he would probably rather it get done sooner than later. He doesn't like it dragging on too much, but we know there's not too many trades being happening right now with the Stanley Cup still being run through, so we have to wait for probably a little bit longer before the trade market starts to open up. But Markstrom does seem like he wants this to be done soon so he can put it in the rearview mirror and find a new place for him and his family. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there. Chris Johnson once again said New Jersey seems to be the team who's most willing to get it done and try and give the Flames a really good asking price. So it seems like the Devils are probably the most likely landing spot for Markstrom. But we will have to wait and see, and maybe there's a couple of other teams. We know that Toronto and Ottawa have been linked to him, so I wouldn't rule out a couple of other teams, like maybe Seattle or Detroit. So we'll have to wait and see on those things, but it does sound like Markstrom will get moved. It does sound like New Jersey is the front runners, and it does sound like this could be one of the first trades we see after the Stanley Cup final. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Also, with the Calgary Flames, David Pagnotta was talking about the Flames, and he said that there's a lot of teams currently checking in on Calgary Flames for Andrew Mangiapane. Now, I talked about this a little bit before. Kuzmenko, Mangiapane, and Sharangovich are all entering the final year of their deals, and we could see a similar scenario to what we saw last year with Hanifin, Tanev, Zadorov, and Lindholm. So it does seem like there's a very likely chance that we could see some more guys leave via either the trade market or next year free agency. And given how Conroy has played it out his first year as GM, I think this could easily happen again. We could see a lot of trades with some of their pending OFAs, especially if they're not willing to sign. And Mangiapane might be one of them. He's a former 30-goal scorer, had a little bit of a down year last year, not overly great. If you can go to a place where you can find a 30-goal form, I think he will be able to continue to drive up his asking prices in the final year of a 3-year, $5.8 million AAV deal. I think there's a very likely chance that he does get moved this year. I think Sharangovich is a little bit less likely since the Flames want to extend him. I'm not sure about Kuzmenko, but I think of those three, I think Mangiapane is probably the most likely to get moved. It's a name we'll have to watch out for over the next little while, so I'll have to wait and see on that. Going over to the Carolina Hurricanes, the recent insider trading video on TSN, they were also talking about Marner, and they said that basically most to every team in the league has contacted them about Marner. It sounds like he will get moved, but right now the Carolina Hurricanes are trying to dwindle it down to figure out which team can offer them the best package. Currently, there's 5 to 7 teams that interest them in potentially having a package that could get Necas, but they haven't gotten a package that they like for Necas yet. Teams who have some major interest and could offer those packages include the Winnipeg Jets, who they talked about when they were talking with Nikolai Ehlers. Could be a really good fit there for the Carolina Hurricanes to move Necas to Winnipeg. Could be a really solid top 6 winger. Chicago, we talked about them again with Mario Ferraro, seem to be looking to try and add some more forward pieces to try and help Bedard, so he can be a really good piece. He's also on the younger side, so he can really help that sort of a retool rebuild that the Hawks are in right now. You had the Boston Bruins, who, like we talked about, really have some interest in him, given the fact they want to add another top 6 winger, so I could see them have some interest. And Montreal, we have heard some rumors about trying to acquire Marner, so it wouldn't be overly surprising if those teams were heavily interested, and it seems that there's probably 2 to 4 more teams who are interested that were not mentioned at that point in time, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but it sounds like Carolina's going to try and get the best return they can possibly get, and these 4 teams, potentially some more, could have the pieces to try and pull off a deal. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but that sign is starting to get closer to being moved, and maybe in the next week or 2 we'll find out if he does get traded. Going over to the Columbus Blue Jackets, talking about the Blue Jackets, we know they just hired new GM Don Waddell, and now there's some talk about moving one of their bigger time forwards in Patrick Laine. According to a multitude of reports I've seen, including on Insider Trading. I've also seen this a couple of other places too. Columbus is open to moving Patrick Laine, and they're trying to work with him to find a fresh start for him. Unfortunately, unlike Pierre Dubois, who looks like he didn't want to be in Winnipeg, I think Laine was alright with being in Columbus, but he's been injury riddled. He's been in the players assistance program even. He has not fit in overly well. The experiment of trying him at center this year just never worked out, and I think there's a specific situation that Laine would work, and that's like a second line, first power play unit sniper, sort of like where Draisaitl usually snipes, or Ovechkin. He needs to be a goal scorer. He had a fantastic rookie year, put up, I think it was 40-something goals. He was a massive goal scorer as a rookie, but ever since then, he really hasn't been able to find his goal scoring form, especially in Columbus. So if he can go to a place where there's maybe a couple more talented players that he can play with, that could put him in a position where he can have a chance to score a lot of goals, I think there would be a major upgrade for Laine. Now, he does make a $8.7 million cap hit for this year plus next year, so it'll be a difficult trade to move, and the Jackets may have to try and eat some cap to maybe bump his cap hit down to like $7-6 million to make a sort of deal work. But I think think if they were to move Laine and he's healthy and everything, I think they could get like a third-round pick and a good prospect for him. It's not going to be anywhere close to what they got for him in the trade when they gave up Pierre Dubois, but I think there's a very likely chance that they can still move him, find him a fresh start, and then try and add some pieces elsewhere with his cap space. So I'll have to wait and see on that, but it does sound like Laine will get moved. And lastly, going over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, according to a couple of recent reports, one on Insider Trading, one on David Pagnotta, and I've also seen a couple of really interesting pieces from Elliot Friedman, all regarding Mitch Marner. Now, I know we're talking about this a lot over the past little while, but I think we have to talk about this again. According to David Dreger, he says that currently Mitch Marner is willing to honor the final year of his contract, and he doesn't really want to be moved at this point in time. He says that things could change, but as we sit right now, this might be more of a conversation that we have heading into the 2025 free agent period instead of right now. So he says things could change, but his opinion at this point in time was that Marner will probably stay. According to David Pagnotta, he said similar things. He says that Marner's preference right now is to stay in Toronto, but he says that if the Leafs were to go to him and ask him to waive his no movement clause, he would have to contemplate his options and see if it really makes any sense to stay in Toronto. And on top of that, according to David Pagnotta, he thinks that the Leafs have some resemblance of where Marner would be open to waiving to. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens with Marner. It doesn't sound like it's a guarantee he gets dealt, and Darren Dreger did say those things were premature, but it doesn't sound like it's a foregone conclusion he's staying in Toronto. It does sound like there's a possibility he could still get traded, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And Laine also mentioned that if Marner were to get traded, a team that needs to be watched out for is Vegas. Now, I've seen a lot of people recently speculate Vegas could move a package of something like Theodore, Logan Thompson, maybe a pick, and a really good forward like a Roy or a Carlson or something like that to try and pull off a trade. I would not pull a trigger on that sort of a trade if I was the Golden Knights. Thompson is a fantastic goaltender on a really cheap contract. You have Theodore, who's a solid top four defenseman. I know some people said Hamilton was brought in to replace Theodore, but I think he's still a fantastic top four defenseman. You have Carlson, Raw, really good top nine forward. So personally, in my opinion, I think not only would it be extraordinarily difficult to work cap-wise, but I also don't think a Marner upgrade, it might make the forward group a little bit better, but would definitely take away from their defense and their goaltending. So it's a careful situation that they have to balance right now, but it'll be interesting to see if the Golden Knights are one of the bigger players in a Marner trade if they wind up moving Marner. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But those are updates from the past couple of days. But that's what I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Leafs? Do they move Marner? Do they keep Marner? And if they do move Marner, could Vegas be a team with his interest? Do the Columbus Blue Jackets wind up finding a home for Patrick Laine? And if so, where does he go? Where do you think the Aces could go? It sounds like a trade could happen soon. Where do you think he could go? Would it be Chicago, Boston, Winnipeg, Montreal? Could be someone else. Let's get your thoughts on that. What do you think about Calgary? Do they move Markstrom? Do they move Mangiapane? Where could Mangiapane go? Is Markstrom the most likely for New Jersey? Definitely let's get your thoughts on that. Plus, what do you think about Mario Ferraro? Does he get moved? And if so, where can Mario Ferraro go? And where do you think will be the best fit for him? Plus, what do you think about the Warsofsky signing? The Tulsky most likely being the GM of the Hurricanes, and Steen eventually being the GM of the Blues. Plus, some signing and injury of this in the past couple of days. Definitely let me know your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. I'm going to tell you this video. And if you're like to subscribe down below. Thank you for your support and able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below. So I'll discuss in today's video. Also a blog talk about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So if you check that out, leave a link to that in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.